What up, people? We are back. You know who it is, John Alvin, Nothing But Facts, with my co-host Chris Brooks. We back for episode 2, season 5.
Is this season 5?
Chris, season 5, bro.
Getting old, bro.
We getting old. We getting like we vets in this game, low key. Like if you really think about it, we real live vets in this game.
Yeah, it was a lot of people. It still is a lot of people doing podcasts. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get this situated. I don't see. Yeah, I, it's a lot of people who didn't try it. Hell, we even stopped for a minute. You know what I'm saying? So salute to all the people
Yep.
who
Yep.
continuing to have a podcast going, man, and have some good content to speak about, especially, what I'm saying, obviously being in the city, man, it's always special to be able to converse about what's going on, good, bad, ugly. It's always good.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry. Not to-
Yeah, you got the feedback going, and like I'm gonna need you to get yourself together. Like we cannot be starting the show off with you having all your stuff like not arranged in the right way. I'm
I
just
know,
saying.
right? I know we're late too.
Yeah, we definitely ain't. But I mean, our people, they good peoples and they be looking forward to us. You know what I'm saying? We was off for a week because I was at Vegas session 3 of Nike Girls EYBL, which we went 6-0. I'm happy to announce that.
What a hand claps. Come on. What's up, Jew? I
So
got
it's
you. I got you doing stuff in the background. I'm
it's
sorry.
it's a bounce back from a team that went on 5 in session 2 in New Orleans. So a complete turnaround. Kids bought in a little bit. Now we got Nike Nationals coming up here Thursday in Chicago. So I'm
Yeah.
excited. What's new in your world, Chris?
Man, not a lot. Just the grind, man. The high school grind and obviously family grind. You know what I mean? So, man, day by day. And Jew, we actually might as well just kind of stick on that topic, Jew, with um, kind of the EYBL circuit. You know what I'm saying? The things of that nature. I know a lot of tournaments are wrapping up. Is this kind of like the last weekend coming up, John? I know some
Pete,
weekends were
Pete,
championship weekends, but Peace Jam
Peace
last
Jam
weekend.
just Peace Jam just ended. Uh, excuse me, Peace Jam just ended 2 days ago. The Florida Rebels um, were victorious and won it all in the 17s. Um, and so yeah, it's over with for boys. The girls are coming up next. I think you had the P32, New Balance circuit, the Pro 16. I think all of those boys circuits ended this past weekend.
Okay. Yeah, I know my daughter's going. She's going to Cincy. So it's still, what I'm saying, some high level basketball out there being played.
Yep.
John, we were kind of discussing, just this this whole circuit, not just the basketball aspect of it, but also the financial obligation. Because it's one thing to get there, it's another thing to be able to have to pay to get in the gym. You know what I mean? Day after day after day. You know what I mean? Like, what are your thoughts? Just about how much it actually costs. You know what I mean to do this whole thing at all ages.
Well, well, what I need, most people to understand is that with everything, um, youth sports is a $1 billion industry, and those companies are, of course, into it to market their brand and get their brand on a higher scale. But they also are, they're running a business, and in any business that you run, one of your focuses is definitely going to be you intend to profit and not be in the red for what you're doing. Nike on the boy side probably does it the best because they only charge actual $10 entry to go watch at every location. But on the girls side, however, with the Nike TOC running it and not actually Nike running it, it's a lot more. I think it's $75 or something like that. Um, the part where everybody was upset from reading social media and all that was, New Balance was 140 for the weekend pass. Now,
Per.
yeah, per person for the adult person. And again, they're new to having a circuit, and so I get it. They jumped in and said, like it or not, this is what it's going to cost, and you're going to have to pay it. Um, and I guess this goes back to people saying that certain sports are being priced out for our young African American athletes.
Mhm.
But in a nutshell, like, people do have to understand that they're running a business, and it's no different than anything you do with shopping. If you don't like that, Nike is charging $185 for a pair of shoes, go get you some Reeboks that cost 100. That's a you thing. Like, you like it, love it or hate it, it comes with business, and it comes with what the economy looks like, and how can they capitalize off these things. And so, like I said, Nike on a larger scale has been doing it, and it hasn't been a big issue because they went to $10. However, but their resources are different. And so when you look at New Balance and all that, I'm not taking up for them. I'm just, at the end of the day, I don't know if I really can be upset with them. I think they need to get back under the $100 range though for weekend pass. But I do also know what comes with all of those things when it comes to insurance. Insurance is extremely high for events like that. Staffing is extremely high for events like that. People have to look at when events move to not to have parents keeping a score, and they start paying people to do the score, the clock, and the shot clock. You have to take all those things in factor of why your admission fee dollar goes up. And so if they can understand that part of it, they'll know that if this is all equated into it. Or you can go back to y'all doing the score table and people arguing and ready to fight. So
Yeah,
pick your
I
poison.
mean, I just think I'm a fan of AAU basketball. I think it's a lot of development that goes on with certain programs, as well as the ability to be seen. You know what I mean? But I do think 140 for the whole weekend. That's a one night stay at the hotel. Well, maybe. You know what I mean? So you know what I
Yeah.
mean. To ask these parents to do that, the $10, even the $20. You know what I mean? You come into a national event, you know what I mean? You kind of expected to pay. There's a lot of cost involved, but you know what I mean? Sometimes those venues are given to at a discounted price. You know what I mean? Obviously, referees, you got to pay stuff. I understand that, but it's almost just kind of becoming outrageous. It's like when you go to these, national football tournaments, it's 20, 25 to get in. Come on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it just kind of makes you, kind of taints the picture about AAU basketball when, you know what I mean, you're already forking money to play, forking money to travel. And then when you get to the events, you know what I'm
That ain't
saying?
that
Just
ain't
have you bring your whole family. So now it's almost like you can't even bring your,
that
you know
ain't
what I'm
always
saying,
true.
your twin.
That ain't always true, Chris. It's not always true. Like, I know a lot of AAU programs, especially on the Nike side, that are paying for their 17s and 16s whole teams. Literally, like, they're not paying no fees.
Yeah, but that's like
And and a
two
lot
or
of
three percent of the teams out there, John.
and a lot of them not paying the travel. And you're right. You're right. I get it. That is the 1% or 2%, or whatever you want to call it. Those are the special, special ones. But I guess I don't know. I think we should also bring Van on, and maybe he can elaborate because he's an event operator. Um, Even though we're bringing him on to talk about Little League football and where it's at and the
Yeah.
state. Um,
Before we do that though, you know what I mean? We, definitely got to give a shout out. And this is, definitely on the lines because, these three young men that we're going to talk about, they came from, from youth programs. Gianna, if you have have that edit ready. But definitely want to talk about the Big Three camp that was at St. Mary's a few weeks ago. You got Kevin Coleman, Chase Hendricks, and Jamal Roberts, who all went to St. Mary's. And not trying to just put a spotlight on St. Mary's, but these three gentlemen, phenomenal young men. You know what I mean? Being able to see them, in their element, interacting with young men, taking the lead. I did a youth camp for years, and it's a lot of work. You know what I mean? But to see these young men come out, lead these young men in our community, it was really really special, and just seeing their maturity, seeing how they interacted. Um, with the kids, seeing how they interacted with the former teachers and leadership. All of them had their families there, being able to enjoy the day, man. Those are, some of the most special things that you're ever going to get out of this game. You know what I mean? A lot of times you never lead a game feeling like the game repaid you or gave you everything that you wanted. But the things that you give, those are the things that really really last a lifetime, man. So definitely wanted to really really shine some light on the big three camp. Again, Kevin Coleman, Chase Hendricks, and Jamal Roberts. I believe Kevin, actually reported today with the Miami Dolphins, for his first rookie mini camp. Well, it would be not rookie mini camp anymore, but mini camp or camp, so to speak. So definitely rooting for him, rooting for Chase, who's obviously my little cousin, and Jamal Roberts as well, to do great things. Chase Hendricks, he's at Cal. Jamal is at Mizzou, and obviously three is with the Miami Dolphins. So super super proud. Can we get the claps for? Can we get the applause, Drew? For these. There we go. There we is that or is that some static? Come on, Drew. Come on, Drew.
Uh,
Um,
Hey, and
what is that, Drew?
shout out to our producer, man. Like, what y'all don't know is we have a person behind the scenes that she is amazing and great with what she does when it comes to all of this production stuff. We didn't do any of this. We didn't create any of this. This is all her doing. We're just the people that's on the show talking, but I had to give her a shout out. She's amazing at what she do.
No, for sure, for sure, for sure. Do we have our guest of the day?
We have him. He's in the room and waiting. We just need you to put him up on the screen, and we can get to it.
Oh yeah, we big time. We big time now.
We made it now. Hey,
Van, this is
mama, we
for
made
for
it.
those who do not know, this is Van. I ain't gonna say it's government because it's his
Don't do it.
birthday. But Van Swingler, he's not the president anymore. Are you still the president? Still the president? No, you gotta let me know, man, because I know y'all changed. Y'all changed leadership. So what is your role now in the Show Me League? You are
I'm
the you
I'm
are
the
the
owner of the
Okay.
I'm the owner of the league, but I'm not the president and owner anymore. And then I guess get to enjoy coaching for a little while.
Sounds suspicious.
I bet. Yeah.
So
It's one
Van,
less
we
hat though.
we wanted to bring you on and obviously just kind of talk youth football, but if I know it's your birthday, so I don't want to, spoil your birthday, but a lot of teams in the St. Louis area, kind of, got outside and traveled. You know what I mean? You guys went to Atlanta. I think EOL and some teams went to Indy. I think, maybe I forget where the O went. But teams,
Texas.
in this Texas, teams, definitely, trying to be able to get outside. But just talk a little bit about your team just for a moment. How'd you guys fare before we kind of get into the tough questions?
No worries. My particular team, we went to Atlanta with, and I ain't making no excuses, but we went to Atlanta without any type of work in the city. We went up against a national team out the gate, and they showed us a lot that we need to work on. So we end up losing 24 to nothing, I believe. It should have only been 8-0, but when you travel with a group of kids and we ain't nothing but a rec team, I wanted to make sure those parents got opportunity to play. I mean, those kids got opportunity to play. because they made that long trip, and then that's when the score got kind of lopsided. But that's nothing taken away from No Favors. They're a great organization out of Alabama. And then we played another team, actually from Atlanta, and we actually won. Um, like I said, that was our first 2 games of work, and we jumped in the national tournament just to see what it was all about. And it's definitely big boy ball. These guys play spring ball all year. Not all year, starting in March, they told us, and like we just now put on pads in July. So our backs was against the wall for us having some experience, but it was worth it though. The experience for my kids, they had a good time, and I made sure it was more than just about football. So we did a lot of. If you look at some of the pages of the parents, we did a lot of activities as well. So
So Zavan, you talk about, and again, just want to be brief on this, but you talk about, obviously getting outside, going to a national tournament, playing a top team. Like how do you, with it being so early, how do you kind of set your team up to be ready for a game like that? It was kind of like a thing, our St. Louis teams kind of getting in these tournaments and not really, I ain't gonna say not being prepared, but the best preparation is actually being able to play a live game. So
right.
what do you guys think, kind of the need to do is kind of going forward, man? Maybe, even some of the other St. Louis teams who may have had success or may not have had success so early in the summer.
Well, I think maybe we can get John Albers to do his preseason tournament a little early because John got a good feel for the city and people actually respond to him. So maybe we can get some of our top teams to actually play each other and prepare us for what we see out there. I don't think that people are necessarily that much better than us, but I think they just get more work, they get more experience, they get more reps. They actually know, personnel better than we do. They know they calls. Like we were 8U, team was running no huddle off coaches' signals, which I guess I could have been doing that if I practiced it a little earlier, but actually doing it in games, you could just see the difference. So for me, I just think like even starting in July, we just need to get a preseason earlier preseason tournament where people allow others to get some work. I mean, don't worry about a win and a loss. That's why I know, Chris, you're allowing me to do a jamboree because I was hoping people wouldn't care about the win and the loss, but just the work aspect of it. And unfortunately, still at 8U, I wasn't able to get anybody. So I know it's the nature of the beast, but it is what it is.
Hey, Van, when
John,
you
you're
look at,
muted.
I'm muted.
No, he not.
I
I'm
can't
not
hear him.
muted. Oh, okay. I don't know why I'm muted, but can you hear me? Van, can you hear me?
I can
No
hear you.
clue what
Okay.
John's saying.
Um, I guess my question to you is that when you look at youth football, is it too much of worrying about wins and losses and not actual total development and growth in all areas for not just uh, players but also coaches as a whole?
Yeah, it is. And I think it's more so the social media aspect of it. Nobody wants to go on there and get embarrassed. So, like, people, they can take a loss, but they can't take what's going to happen after it when they get on social media and they take a shot to the ego. So, I think for us, the loss, I think they can kind of deal with that because I think end of the day, coaches are pretty much they try to be honest. And Lauren's gonna sneak up here with me on my birthday, but I know coaches for the most part try to be are a little honest with themselves. They know certain teams they're gonna have a problem with, but it's the after that loss what I'm gonna have to hear. And I think once we get through that and just understand it's just youth sports, man, let it go. It's gonna happen. You can't stop it. They're gonna troll you, whatever they call it these days, hate on you, whatever you want to call it. But um, I think once we get past that social media shocker and embarrassment, everybody will be okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's embarrassing to lose. You know what I mean? I remember playing our rival, back in the day. I knew I was gonna have to play him 2 years, 2 times during the season, but I mean that was the best teacher. You know what I mean? Like seeing
Right.
that team, and having an opportunity to make adjustments, or you try to make adjustments. So I think it's a good segue because, you know, You know, you've had some teams who were in your league and now they're in a different league. Teams have bounced around, kind of going in between. You know, I know me and John kind of talked about, the potential of maybe there could just be one league, so just at a bird's eye view, you know what I mean? If you could kind of give your perspective of where youth football is with the different leagues, just what your thought of the state of youth football and where it's at with with all these different leagues in the area.
Okay. Well, I guess I can start with my personal opinion. And I guess running the
Hmm.
league, you got to have some type of ego, right? You got to have some type of something about you to make you want to do more, make you want to do better. So, me personally, this year, out of all other years, I decided to put my ego to aside and try to work with what's best for the city, especially since I knew I wanted to see what national teams look like so I could see what everybody's experiencing. So, as far as league, with the Show Me League, for instance, because that's me, I guess. It was always geared around being a large local thing. Like I wanted people to still be able to do the travel if they want, but just to be a large local league. So this year I thought it'd be a great idea to get with somebody like AYF to give some of those teams that felt the same way I did an opportunity to go to nationals after the season, which what I always thought AYF was great for. So I did try to mend that bridge and try to make that work, but I think the city as a whole, because that's something that I never talked about before, made it something that it wasn't and made it seem like maybe a power trip from the Show Me side. And I hate that, because I came as humble as I could. But again, I just wanted we at least we got the conversation started. So maybe later on, maybe that's something that we can experience. But like I said, me personally, I think if we got a big local league, it gives people opportunity that want to go to nationals and stuff, opportunity to play some of the better recreational teams that's in my league or in other places, man. So I'm for it this year. If none other year, I'm definitely starting to feel that, and I just want to make it work for our city so we can put the best representation out there.
Now, would that still look like a grade base, D1, D2, D3? Were those conversations ever had on what that even looks like?
Absolutely. Like I said, I don't have a. I guess I can talk about it a little bit. But what I brought to the table was our grade base is probably on the lines of their D3. And we brought to the table of bringing my competitive teams, which is the age-based teams, to the Division 1, Division 2. Just have a big local schedule, and then the ones that want to travel during the season be able to figure that out. But yeah, that was the conversation, and uh, like I said, I always thought it would work. I thought it was a no-brainer, man, because the city, for me, the families get an opportunity to see some of these top teams. Some of these rec teams get to see why they're rec, why they shouldn't travel, and even some of those travel teams get an opportunity to see maybe they might need to revisit something or try to get a more top tier talented kid or something. I don't know, but I don't know.
Yeah, uh,
I still
I
can't hear John. I'm sorry,
it
John. I
it's
can't hear you,
it's.
bro.
I don't know why you can't hear me, Chris, because we can hear
I can
I'm
hear
you.
him,
like
Chris.
reading. I don't know.
Everybody can hear
I'm
me,
I'm
but you.
probably gonna jump out
Uh,
and jump back
Jump,
in.
yeah, yeah. But what I would say to that, Van, it's crazy because I go back. I always go back into retro of when traveling
JFL.
first started, the JFL, and when you look at those teams that were traveling, it was people that were winning Super Bowls.
Absolutely.
It wasn't it
Just
wasn't,
anybody.
yeah, it wasn't the Bonhams of the world that maybe not winning or St. Charles. And even like I remember a time when I played with Frank Robinson, we had three kids off St. Charles team. And we had one kid off Bonham and they went with Matthew Dickey and we went to play in Florida in the Thanksgiving Bowls. Um, I just think it kind of needs to get back to that part. I don't because when I look at it and I see teams that I know for a fact has no business traveling, or going out of town. And I'm all for giving a child an experience. Let's not get that twisted. And I think
Right.
that it's just understanding when you do travel that you know that you're going to play somewhere that fits your realm of what you have on your roster, and
Right.
not a thing of, I'm going down to play in a YNC event, and you have no business going there. You know what I'm saying? And if you go back and
Right.
look at the history, I got love for everybody in the city. I got no ill with nobody. But when you go back and look at the history, name on one hand how many teams went to those big events and won it all. I
I can't do
I
it.
I can't name a team that went and won. Now I can name some teams that went and won like Florida stuff, okay. But I'm saying went
Right.
to play in the NYC or whatever you call it, uh,
YNC.
YNC or the AYF or the Pop Warner. I can't name one St. Louis team that actually went there and won it. But I
We
know
getting close.
I understand getting close. This is the only thing I do not like about what youth football is and the state. I think we limit the resources of people being able to have teams because we are combining teams to say we're making a national run. And I don't know if that fits
And,
this is a rec sport model for our youth. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
I think that gets in the
Yeah.
way of what we are really trying to do when it comes to developing young men, into developing kids
Yeah.
into young teenagers and then young men sooner or later. And so I don't have a super problem with it, but when I heard people say, oh yeah, I combined with two teams and we finna make a national run. And then when they get to this national run, they got nine parents upset because they didn't combine, and it's like, well, I thought I was coming over and I was finna start, and you splitting
Right.
time with two other kids that are just as probably good as the kid that you brought over. You know what I'm saying? Or
Right.
you had a kid that was really good and you brought kids over and now that kid is not playing at all, and now the experience for the child is not whole. And so, yeah, man, it when I look at all of it, I always just look. That's why I go back to like the governing body of youth sports, of
Right.
saying, should we have a group of people that are over youth football to say, yeah, they can go to such and such, or no, they can't go to such and such. We don't think
I
we're
ain't
ready
saying nothing, John.
for such and
I ain't
such. Yeah,
saying nothing.
yeah, Chris, don't
I
you
ain't
say a
saying
word,
nothing.
because the last time you said a word, boy, let me tell you, boy, you had my whole inbox in a
That's crazy.
frenzy. Hey, Van, let me tell you, this boy made that statement last week on this show, and I'm not gonna lie. We talked about it before I posted it, okay? And
Uh,
Chris said, "Do not post it," right? And I said, "No," I said, "No, Chris. Like, you already said it, so you know how people are. They gonna do nothing but go
right.
screen record it and repost it." So I
Right.
posted it to get out in front of it. Hey man,
Right.
Chris was called all kind of goofies and cools, and I said they must not really know this nigga, because
Right.
he is the furthest thing from being a cool
Right.
or, or any of that. Like, real talk.
Right.
Like, to know Chris is to understand that, like, Chris sometimes is gonna say some stuff that's gonna have to look at it and be like, "What? I can't believe he just
Yeah.
said that." And a lot of it, I defended it like this. I just said, "No, I agree with. I understood what he was saying. I think he should have said it differently, but." I knew exactly what he was saying. You know what I'm saying? No, he didn't. He didn't want any bias in what was going on, and
Right.
black people don't like listening to other black people. That's a fact. Like, that's not a lie. When your
Right.
cousin the boss and you be like, blah blah blah, you be like, man, you don't know what you're talking about. But as soon
Right.
as you come bring in such and such off the street and he got a resume and he bought, you looking like, okay, I'm gonna listen to him. That is true.
Right.
So it just is
So
what it
I
is.
think my biggest, well, my only opinion now is I, I can't count nobody pockets. I try not to, but
Yeah.
I can, just the average Missouri football parent. 3 trips in 1 year could be a little much. So me personally, I thought a big league was the answer because you get into local reps and games. Now, when it's time for regionals and nationals, you got a bucket of money put aside because you did not have to make these trips. And I don't want to beat it because now it's gonna seem like I'm bashing
Yeah.
another league, and that's not true. Because, like I said, Eric called me and told me happy birthday today, so I don't have anything against the AYF. That's not true. They're not taking anything from Van, and I'm not taking anything from them. So it's not like that. It's just me being a parent, being a humanitarian. My brother is running for St. Louis County exec, so make sure everybody vote for Brian Williams too. Little plug. But me being around all this stuff, man, me knowing the demographics of
We gotta get him
our
on. We gotta
community.
get him on. We gotta get Brian. We gotta get him on the show, man.
I could have
I,
I
I
could have
was.
plugged him in now. He was just my birthday, so all of us together. But he'll definitely do it, especially because most of his people, that's his ward, or right now him being a senator, is Ferguson and Dalewood, all these surrounding Jennings areas. So
Yeah.
that ain't a problem. But like I get to see some of the numbers and stuff that we talk about, man. And these parents, man, they shouldn't have to make a business decision on the light bill and the gas bill because they want to see their baby play. But if they get an opportunity to build towards the national chapter and a regionals, then nationals, and that makes more sense, man. But I don't want to beat it up because I don't want people to think I'm bashing it. But like I said, I'm here for a change. I'm here for if it works, and
I,
I'm an open book, man. So
I got one blitz question, and I didn't talk to Chris about
go.
this. I
Oh,
didn't talk to Drew about this or anything. But and this is really a true blitz, and this might
okay.
cause some controversy, but I want to ask you anyway. What do
Come on
you
with it.
think about the state that Matthew Dickey is in with youth football and only having 2 teams this year?
You want me to be honest? Like
Yeah.
Mm,
honesty,
mm, mm, mm.
honesty. It sucks, bro, because I admire what Mr. Dickey built. And I think I told Chris this, like, I admire what it stood for. I admire everything it gave me. When I started my organization, I reached out to Matthew Dickey for guidance. I reached out to him for equipment. They gave me everything I needed to start in my organization. All the resources that Matthew Dickey's have, it's shameful that we make something that even ain't really our business part of their business because they're trying to do things the right way, and them to take that hit and all the resources they can provide. When you go independent, there's more resources that those kids are not going to be able to get that they would get at Matthew Dickey. I'm even talking about before and after school care. You know what I'm saying? That like you as a private organization can't offer that. We a safe haven, like, so that it bothers me. And like I said, I probably got more kids because of it, but I'm not happy to have those kids because in my heart, I know Matthew Dickey is the best place for a lot of these kids with parents that's working full-time jobs. So I'm honestly, it don't sit well with me, and I'm here to see if we could do whatever to change that. So
Chris, would you like to share any words?
Mm-mm.
like, I know the situation was crazy, but at the end of the day, man, the resources that Matthew Dickey's have, and I know Chris feel a way about, whatever, but like the resources that they have, Herbert Hoover has, even City Rec has, when it's time to go to nationals and stuff like that, they can help provide that. These other local programs ain't gonna do nothing but fundraise you to death, and hopefully you can sell enough popcorn or get on the corners and panhandle. Man, my dog just cannot stay off the camera, man. So I'm a let him just.
He should be.
One of the
He
best
should be
backs ever
tired
come
of
out the
it.
room.
He said one of the back. Y'all on my glasses, so he can't hear y'all. They say
Oh,
you
we're
should
on
be
your
tired of being on the
glasses.
camera.
Yeah,
But nah.
he can
So
stay on the camera. But yeah,
yeah,
man,
they watching on the phone though.
I had to ask that question simply because I
So
know it's something that has been talked about amongst people, but not really talked about on a broader scale of social media. Um, Chris saying no comment is weak. However, however,
I
that's
mean,
my
I mean,
brother, and
I can comment. I can comment on it. I mean, I don't really know. I don't really know, to be
I thought we
completely
was nothing
honest.
but No. So like, it's not about like knowing like what was the real. I'm talking about like how does it make you feel knowing. This is not a really. I'm not saying point the finger at administration from Boys and Girls Club or Matthew Dickey or even the coaches. I'm just saying as a whole, like how does, because I know how it makes me feel, and like me being a Matthew Dickey alum, and I mean my father, my parents, my brother, my sister, all were Matthew Dickey people. When I look at youth football, I'm disgusted that I don't see that we have any football teams this year. You know what I'm saying? And I think
Wow.
that is a and I think that is a holistic thing of everyone involved. I'm not. This is not a. It's on administration for Boys and Girls. This is everybody. You know what I'm saying? When I look at it, it's like, come on, we can't figure this out. Like I
Yeah.
understand. We had 13 teams, 14 teams last year to go down to
I
two.
mean,
And again, Chris has no comment. So
Man,
I mean, they
we
figuring
as
it
a
out.
culture just picked the wrong stuff to boycott. I just like we could boycott
I
Walmart
agree.
for supporting Trump, but to boycott historical black program is crazy to me. It's crazy, and to take
Because
a
that's
Yeah, I'm
really
not.
flyer
what it
on
is.
yeah,
I'm
That's
not
that's
sure.
definitely
I'm not sure that it's a boycott.
it's definitely a
I'm.
boycott.
I don't think that it's. I don't think that's the root. I don't think that's the root. I think. I think. I think it's way bigger than that. I think it's way bigger than that. You know, I think
But
that's
okay,
only.
what's bigger than a boycott, Chris?
y'all ready.
Take over.
Man,
A takeover.
Y'all gonna get me
let's.
killed if I don't jump in this picture, guys. I'm
Hey,
gonna let y'all have
hey,
it. I appreciate y'all.
Hey,
appreciate it.
we
Appreciate you,
and
Van. Let's clap it up for
we
Van,
appreciate
man.
you.
Thank y'all, guys.
We
Juju,
appreciate you,
what?
man.
It's Juju,
On my
boy. Our
birthday, I
pleasure.
gave y'all some time.
You
Hey,
did.
happy birthday
Appreciate it.
again, man. From nothing but facts. You know what I'm saying?
Right
We
on.
appreciate
Right on, guys.
you.
All right, Van. Um, moving right along.
We can move right along, Chris.
You know, because that's a whole nother
I blitz.
topic in itself. John, you
I
can you
know,
hear
but
me?
yeah, I can hear you.
I'm a click out and click back in, John, because I don't know what's going on. Like I can't hear you, so I'm just gonna click out and click right.
But yeah, people. In a nutshell, of course, I held that topic very close because I knew of what comes with asking those type of questions. So I'm not really mad or upset that Chris chose not to elaborate on it because I understand it. Me being who I am, though, you know, sometimes I'm gonna say some things that people are gonna look at it and be like, "I can't believe he brought that topic up," but it needed to be brought up. And I thought actually Van was as a person that runs a youth football league, the largest youth football league in the state, actually, Missouri, was a good person to actually speak on it, and he shedded some light. And so, we're good. We can move on now, Chris, onto the next topic, and it can kind of segue us into. Um, you brought up something earlier in the group chat about high school kids being recruited, and so kind of
Yeah,
elaborate on that.
yeah, definitely. Jew, if we sorry, looking at my text. We can come back to that, but Jew, if you could bring up that graphic, I'm getting killed over here. If you could bring up that graphic for us, Jew, because I think it's really really telling, and I think it's probably one of the most important things, that we need to kind of just kind of talk about, and who it falls on. I think I think it's open for a discussion. What this is right now, and it is on the screen, is worst states by average rated 2026 recruits, and basically saying these states produced the fewest rated college football players per school in the 2026 class. So Missouri, can we put that back? Okay, I see it. Missouri, is that on there still? We still good on there? Hold on. Missouri, can we get that back up, Jew? Missouri, I believe, was fifth. the fifth worst. So the average rating was 0.86. The average recruits was 1.3. So John, for me, it starts to open up a lot of can of worms, just talking about development on the youth level. I'm not singling anybody out. Development on the high school level, because all high schools aren't created equal. There are a lot of good coaches at some high schools that don't have superior talent. There are a lot of bad coaches at high school that have the superior talent that are winning because of the talent. It's no difference from little league. You got that one superior athlete that can just go. You don't need all the coaching. You know what I mean? So, I just wanted to bring this to the forefront. Like for me, again, I'll go after you, John, but just give me your initial, thoughts when you see something like that. Just kind of saying that the recruits in Missouri, we're rated amongst the least around the country.
I mean, my initial thought is our kids are not as good as we think they are, and people will go look at that and say it has everything to do with the little league football coach or who's coaching them at middle school or high school. But in a nutshell, the 1% is still the 1%. And probably when you look at college football, it probably jumps up to, excuse me, it probably jumps up to maybe 15 to 20% as far as who actually gets the opportunity to play college football at all levels. But when you look at all of that, it goes back to my statements years ago, and I think I said it on the show a couple times. When people say, "Why don't Mizzou recruit all St. Louis top kids?" It's because you can't go win an SEC championship with just St. Louis kids only. All right, and that's a harsh reality, but that is the reality. Do we have a lot of elite level kids? Yes, but I think we have a lot of kids that choose places to go play that
Hmm.
is acceptable to social media and what it optics look like for the families and parents and the friends and cousins versus what is the best place for me to go be successful, develop more, and play more. Um, and that's not to say that, with NIL and portal and how it is now, that you can't go to a mid-major football program and go ball out, get you some early reps, get on the field early, and then next thing you know, you're at a P4. It's the same for basketball, in my opinion. I look at a lot of kids and I say, "Oh, this kid was smart. They went to a Missouri Valley school, and they two Missouri Valley up, and then they became a sophomore, or junior, and now those P4s are looking for older and experienced kids to compete, and they say, let me go grab a mid-major kid versus a high school kid, and so all of it ties in. Us being number five, rated at 0.86, I think I think it's laughable. I never would have took a deep dive into anything like this versus just seeing it. But I know with AI and stats and analytics and all of that, people look at those things. College coaches, general managers are looking at that and saying, "Hold my horses. Do I go in and recruit the third to kid in Missouri to go play at a Texas or something like that?" But Mizzou is not recruiting them. But my coaches came back to the table and said, "Oh, this kid is good enough." So that's my opinion on it. I think we should spend more time with development, but I believe that as a whole, for not just not just players, coaches also. Like everyone has to be wanting to be on the top tier level of working on their craft.
Yeah, and John, I would agree with it. And one thing, I'm not gonna put all the onus on the youth coaches. I'm not gonna do that. I think a big part of it does come from your youth coach. I remember specifically when I played youth football at Matthews Dickey.
Hmm.
I remember coming to practice. We start doing our core work. We warm up. We used to do 6 inches. Then we would break up into individuals. We would work on we would work on blocking. We would work on handoffs. We would work on all the fundamental stuff. All right. Then we would have like a group install where we would, hey, these are the plays. Let's just start walking through all of these plays. It wasn't just come to practice, throw the balls out, run plays. It was tackling. It was, you know what I mean? And then I went to high school.
But that's in
The
the days that
same thing. But again, I only know what I know. You know what I mean?
right,
So when I got to high school, the structure of how we ran practice, I had already been doing that. You know what I'm
right,
saying? And I say that to say, one, we do have to have, and I applaud all the coaches who, you know, who are trying to get better. You know what I mean? Especially the youth coaches. But I'm gonna put some onus on the parents also, because if you think, that you have, and I understand all of this stuff is expensive, but if you think you have a kid and he's one of the top kids, and the only time he's getting work is when he goes to practice, you fooling yourself, because you're trying to put all the onus on that little league coach to say, all right, you got my kid on Monday, Wednesday, Thursdays, or whatever days y'all practice for 2 hours, and that you're going to be able to develop that kid. You know what I mean? There's more work that needs to be put in. And a few years back, I would have said, there's not a lot of opportunities for kids to be able to get adequate training here in Missouri. I'm not
yeah,
gonna say that. I can't say that anymore. There's plenty of people, quality people coaching offensive linemen. There's plenty of quality people coaching defensive linemen. There's some new people, kind of, coming out in the area that coach linebackers. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna put the onus, obviously, yeah, on the coaches. It does fall on the coaches, but another big, factor is the parents. You know what I mean? We talk about holding the kids accountable, and kids, making sure they buying in. You want a D1 athlete, you got to be a D1 parent. I'm not saying that, people aren't, but when you send your kids to these schools, you got to go with them. What does that mean?
hey,
It
hey,
needs to be more work being done. You know what I'm saying?
you you
Collectively.
you you said a key thing that I don't think people heard enough of, and that you have to be a D1 parent. And I'll reference. I saw a thing. Tiffany Spain, um, the Corner track coach, who's done a phenomenal job over there with track.
Hmm.
And she talked about being an elite parent, and it was pretty much the same thing as far as D1 parent and elite parent. She was talking about the same thing. And when you bring it up and you say to parents, you got to be willing to sacrifice some things that you might not be willing to sacrifice. And if that means that you can't go to brunch with your girls, or dad can't take a guy trip, or you have to sacrifice spending money on something wild versus saying, let me spend money on more training for my child because I want to reap the benefits at the end of the day out of it, then it's a you thing. And I think that's the hard part. Being an elite parent is important, especially in today's world. Um, the one thing I do wish we got back to would be kids playing multiple sports. And I know that's way more easier said than done. We have completely gotten away from it as a culture. Um, Kids are now trying to specialize in one sport, but you go back and look at the Deion Sanders of the world, the Bo Jacksons of the world, and
Hmm.
you look at what their journey looked like from playing baseball, football, basketball, the Charlie Wards. You know what I'm saying? That he was a three-sport athlete at Florida State.
Won the
You know what I'm
Heisman
saying?
and then went to go play basketball
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
NBA.
and yeah, and went on to play in the NBA instead of the NFL, and he won the Heisman. And so I don't know. It's always a tough conversation to have, but you know, if I can think about it and really dial into it, I wish we had more kids that played dual sports. I wish, kids came to a St. Mary's and said to coach, "Hey, coach, I'm a basketball player and a football player, or I'm a baseball player and a football player." And we have to figure out the schedule of what works for the kid so the kid can get adequate time at both. But we have gotten completely away from that as a culture. So, that just is what it is.
Yeah. Drew, we're gonna, kind of segue into this next topic. We talk about, the kids in Missouri kind of being the least recruited or have the least rating in the 2026 class. Um, there's a percentage, you know what I mean? Because you think about the kids who have, went on last year and that are having success. You think of the Ryan Wingos of the world, think of the Kevin Colemans of the world, the Chase Hendricks, the Chris Brooks Juniors of the world, the Luther Burdens of the world, all these
Mhm.
guys that have always been at the top. You know what I mean? This next guy, um, Myson Johnson Cook, I believe he's hyphenated last name. I'm sorry for messing it up. But Drew, if you want to put that graphic up, um, Myson signed a Nike deal, which is not unheard of, but kind of unheard of. Nike is notoriously known for holding the money. Myson Johnson Cook, I'm sorry, for holding the money. You know what I mean? And I'll just go out and just say it. I think this is groundbreaking. I think it's amazing. Um, obviously, the kid is an amazing talent. He has world class speed. He's playing in a world class program with other world class student athletes. You know what I
Where is
mean?
he at? Where is he playing
He's
at?
at East Side. East Side. He's at East St. Louis. So for me, for this kid to be able to sign this deal, and I don't know, the numbers or anything like that, but not that even matters. For him to have this opportunity, I think it's so amazing. I think I think there's always baggage that comes with it. You know what I mean? And being in this kind of a spotlight, it definitely kind of amplifies your name, image, and likeness, as well as other things. But I just think this is so amazing, for the area. And obviously, this is an Illinois team, but just for the area, I think it's so amazing because it does prove to you that we still do have that caliber talent here. It just needs to be developed. It needs to be nurtured. It needs to be, massaged. And when you do certain things like, run track, play a different sport, you know what I mean, and put yourself in these kind of positions, it does open doors for you. You know what I mean? He was one of 11 football players that were selected to Nike's, elite athletic roster. So John, I'll give you the floor, but I just think this is really really good for the area
So
and for the kids' family.
what's funny is that, um, of course, this is new to you guys on the football side, but this is something, in girls basketball and boys basketball that for the last 2 years they have been doing more of. Um, Adidas did the same just last year with Kalina Smith and a bunch of other athletes, boys and girls, where they gave NIL deals to, some very lucrative NIL deals too, also, to represent their brand. But it's a lot that comes with it. You're on the forefront of pushing a brand that's a national brand, that's a global brand.
Global.
It's understanding what marketing and promotions look like for another brand and yourself. But it opens a door for you, though. It puts you in the rooms of the elite when it comes to decision makers. And it's your job as an NIL athlete to kind of relish the moment and capitalize off the moment. And I think the biggest part is, just understanding what your circle looks like um, when it comes to that, because it's not just a you thing. You're not the only one carrying the torch. Your parents are too. And what does that look like? And do they understand the ramifications and things that come with being a high profile athlete, an NIL athlete? And so, I'm extremely happy for the kid over at East Side. And of course, I think, Sunk does an amazing job as a coach over there. This probably puts their program even in a bigger light because of it, and winning is an expectation is always there. But yeah, I'm excited to see what Nike rolls out for the Elite 11 football kids that they gave the NIL deal to. And just recently, ESPN gave a deal to I want to say his name is Beckham, a kid that played for AB Elite, um, and Kalina Smith, and that had been not heard of also, with people getting the NIL deal, and so we'll see what comes with it and what the layout is of it. But I'm happy that those things are moving forward more and more, with people getting NIL deals. What's going on? Drew, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Sorry. I don't know what's going on with my connect.
Yeah, we gotta get you off that Boost Mobile.
Chill. Chill. Well, no, I didn't hear what you said, but again, definitely special, for the kid, his family, East St. Louis, and just the entire area. I think it's super awesome, man. I know we're kind of getting close. Definitely want to kind of give some shout outs before we kind of jump off. Want to shout out the St. Louis Blues organization. They're 9 year olds. They're ranked number one in the Midwest, number two nationally in the 100 meter and 200 meter. Next week, we're going to have those young ladies on, to just kind of talk about their journey, talk about breaking the record, what it means, and also shed some light on the Blues, their track club. I mean, they're ranked number one in the nation, and that's including those teams down south. We know Texas kind of runs, you know what I mean, a lot of this track stuff. So for these young ladies at the age of 9 to have broken their own record, I think it's phenomenal. Um, Definitely want to shout out my son Juju. You got that edit for us. Um, you can put the edit up. I don't know. My son was nominated as the Good Works team nominee. It's basically for being a superior student athlete in the community, athletic achievement, as well as athletic achievement as well. So definitely wanna pub my son. Um, who else was on the list, John? Juju, you could take that off.
Well, I didn't add them to the list, but they definitely need some kudos and some claps. Gateway, who is a local organization, plays in the New Balance League, and they won the New Balance tournament. I want to say they won it at 17s and 16s. I know for sure they won it at 17s, but that's a huge accomplishment. Anytime that you can go win a shoe brand um, league with majority of local kids, um, that's a big accomplishment. So shout out to Scott, the man who runs it over at Gateway. He's always been a huge support and help when it comes to servicing kids in the area, and so you got to give him some kudos.
For sure, for sure. And before we break, Ryan Clark has been fired from ESPN.
Oh,
Um,
breaking news! That's breaking
Breaking
news.
news. I'm a big RC fan, but he was just released from his contract, I guess, today.
Yeah. So
So
can we spend just maybe 4 or 5 minutes on that, Chris?
come on with it.
Um, because if I am reading this right, they pretty much told him on set, on live, that he was being fired. And I guess the biggest conversation of it all is, was it a Bush League move by ESPN to do so? Of course, I believe that as long as I have been watching NFL Live and all of these different um, things that Ryan Clark does, the pivot, I think he does an amazing job. I think he's a very intellectual person that has well thought out and sought out answers for things and gives good context of what he's talking about in detail when it
Hmm.
comes to speaking on not just football but politics and all things. I do think that sometimes that when you have that intellect, that you sometimes put your foot in your mouth. And I think this goes back to something along the lines of him getting him having something to say about someone that did not play football per se, but is an analyst also.
Yeah.
Um, and so, what do you think about that, Chris?
I mean, he's one of the goats, obviously on football. He was undrafted and then played all those years in the league, won a Super Bowl. He's I think he won a Grammy or was nominated for or an Emmy. You know what I mean? So he's done phenomenal work in the journalism world. Not sure what the whole reason what was for. And from some of the stuff that I read, he was fired while he was on set. You know what I mean? Like, how tasteless is that? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I just finished a set with you. You don't even have the audacity to, pull me in a room and have a conversation. But that just, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. It's just big business, and I just feel like we pour so much into a lot of this stuff as people, and then they can at any given moment fire us without cause. So I guess my John's corner, if I had one, would be, excuse my language, but F that job. You know what I'm saying? Take the vacation, do whatever it is that you were gonna do, because the moment you gone, they definitely will have somebody else in your seat. You know what I mean? So I definitely think it's tasteless, but it is business. It is business.
So they in the last 10 months they have let go two prominent people when it comes to in that space with Shannon Sharp and Ryan Clark, and those are two people that I think our culture and our people really look forward to hearing what their opinions are on football, but not just football, even other sports now. And
Yeah.
so when you see things like that, it's it's hard. It's hard being a critic and understanding that there's a line to toe when you're not the Stephen A's of the world. And we talked about this last week with Stephen A had an outlandish comment about the Lakers
The
being
Lakers,
all
all
white,
white.
and I said it then. He's the only person that could get away with saying such thing.
Yeah, because he's
Um,
basically the face of ESPN right now.
he's the face of ESPN. He is the Stuart Scott of ESPN. And to be real, his career in this might have succeeded a Stuart Scott only because of he is doing it so big and getting paid so much money on a large scale, just to talk about any and everything. But I won't hold us too much into that. I know we're coming to the end and coming to the closing of our show. Um, I got to thank our sponsor, as always, Lamar Wilkes over at Twisted Cafe. If you want your daiquiri or some good food, head on over there on Olive 8109. I think it's 8109 or 8901. Anyway, it's on Olive in you
Your
city.
car, your
So
car knows how to get there, huh, John?
my car knows how to get there. For sure. Chris, you got anything before we close?
Nah, man. Just I'm reading, reading some of the text messages while I'm getting them. We're gonna, someone we're gonna do a better job next week of trying to get the comments on, because sometimes they come
Yeah.
they come late. You know what I mean? So we'll do a better job of trying to get the comments on. Um, I think I definitely want to go into, somebody, I read one of the comments, some of the freshmen, to be on the lookout for in football. I think it'd be a great idea to do that on the basketball side, girls and boys as well. Just because this stuff happens so fast, you know what I mean? And for all the parents out there, that have kids in high school, kind of going through this process, whether they play a sport or they're just a student, you definitely want to be able to soak up all this time because it goes just like that. And you'll find yourself doing something different with your time. So pour into your kid. I say it all the time. The best investment that you can make is in your children. So that's all I got.
Hey Chris, did you notice on the flyer that the face I make and your face? Did you notice how I did that? Because that's definitely a fix your face, Chris
This
moment.
dude. This dude.
Hey, I'm just saying, like, you gotta give me some credit. Like, that was tough.
It's AI.
Anyway, you could call it AI because it was definitely AI. But at the end of the day, I'm John Albert, and this is Nothing But Facts with my co-host Chris Brooks, and we appreciate you for tuning in. Hey, like, share, subscribe to all of our platforms, and hey, we'll see you again next week.